Welcome back. This week we discussed 1990's Kindergarten Cop, a must-see for 90s kids of a certain age. And while everything we needed to know in life we learned in kindergarten, like the poster famously taught us, you might be wondering where the tradition of kindergarten and early childhood education comes from. And in fact, the original concept for kindergarten had children playing with a series of toys given to them in a specific order to help them learn. And kindergarten has been a part of the American experience for a little over 150 years, thanks in large part to Elizabeth Palmer Peabody, who opened the first English language kindergarten in America and popularized the concept among English-speaking Americans. Kindergarten itself is a German invention, and the first kindergartens opened in the United States were by German immigrants. They adopted the ideas of educational theorist Friedrich Frober, who opened the first kindergarten in the world in 1837 in Blankenburg, Germany. Now, Arnold, who is Austrian and plays Austrian-born Detective Kimble, makes a believable kindergarten cop in part because of his cultural heritage and the plausibility that he himself was raised in this classic educational tradition. Froebel and his followers believed that children should be in school from a young age. At the time, it was common to not view education as something necessary for young people because at the time, adults saw children as just miniature adults and versions of themselves whose behavior needed to be corrected by discipline rather than education. But Froebel thought that children were, quote, inherently good-natured and that they should be encouraged to learn about the world through both reading and spontaneous play. Froebel had an entire theory for how that play should be shaped and encouraged. The kindergarten day was supposed to begin with songs and continue with play through a series of toys and games. His sessions were designed for children 3 to 6 who weren't ready yet for traditional school work. And since these children were so young, he thought that women should be the ones to teach them, arguing that education was an extension of motherhood. And even today, we see that education remains a woman-dominated field with about 75 of all teaching positions held by women. So when the parents, mostly mothers, in Kindergarten Cop were pleasantly surprised to see a male kindergarten teacher, it was, of course, an expected cultural reaction. And as such, Froebel probably would not have liked the idea of an undercover detective posing as a kindergarten teacher to catch a notorious drug thief, but these are problems of the 20th century that Froebel did not exist in. So some of Froebel's followers, including Peabody, opened the first kindergartens in America, and these were at first German language schools. But the ideas stayed on the fringe until around the time of Peabody getting interested in the philosophy. She had already been teaching for decades when she learned about kindergartens in an 1856 article about Froebel's teaching methods. She really liked the educational philosophy and felt that students were well suited for it. In an age when schools relied heavily on memorization and drill, Peabody encouraged children to bring their favorite texts to read aloud, taught math, and using manipulatives created spelling and grammar games, and helped them converse with different philosophical questions. And a few years later, Peabody opened her own kindergarten. She and another educational reformer, her sister Mary Mann, eventually opened their own kindergartens after going to Europe and learning about these infant gardens, as they were called. And after training with Froebel and others, Peabody returned to the United States and became a spokesperson for the now burgeoning kindergarten movement. Women found that launching schools gave them authority and the ability to advocate for education. And the first public school kindergarten opened in the 1870s in St. Louis, and by 1890 there were more than 400 kindergartens in 30 states and kindergarten training schools in every major city. So for what it's worth, I went to one of these kindergartens as a child, and I even learned how to speak German. I, of course, don't have this skill set anymore, but I value the methods by which I was taught. And even though I did not have a rather tall and burly male kindergarten teacher, I think the educators that I had were amazing and helped shape my academic future. So if you know a kindergarten teacher or even a preschool teacher like our co-host Courtney, give them a huge thank you, especially since school will be beginning very soon around the United States. In the meantime, go ahead and hit that subscribe button like it's a tumor you are trying to get rid of. Maybe it's even a non-existent tumor. But subscribe to ensure that you don't miss anything. We appreciate our listeners and supporters. New episodes drop every Thursday. We can't wait to continue delivering you great content. Thank you, and we will see you soon.